People are naturally curious. We ask, probe, and speculate about everything in an effort to educate ourselves on the world around us. These answers aren't always easy to find and sometimes are in fact actually covered up in an attempt to suppress knowledge from the masses. These are the top 5 scariest and most creepy conspiracy theories. Number 5. Skinwalker Ranch. Located in northeastern Utah, Skinwalker Ranch is a 480-acre piece of private land that has experienced an enormous amount of UFO and paranormal activity dating back hundreds of years. The land was once home to the Native Americans' Ute tribe, who described the lore of skinwalkers roaming around the area. If you ask them, they will tell you to stay away from the land because it's forbidden and cursed as the path of the skinwalker. In 1994, the Shermans purchased the property in hopes of using it to raise their cattle. Although curious why a prime piece of property would be abandoned, they purchased the land and moved in along with their 2 children. Within a day, they already experienced something unusual. A large wolf came into the ranch and seemed to welcome the family. The animal wasn't aggressive and even let them pet him before it decided to try to take one of their young calves with it. The Shermans tried to coax it to stop, including firing 5 slugs at point-blank range, but the wolf wasn't fazed or injured. It eventually let go of the calf and trotted away. The family then followed its tracks to a dead end, as if the wolf had vanished into thin air. During their 2-year stay, the Shermans saw countless large wolf-like creatures, had 14 of their cattle mutilated, and 3 of their dogs disappeared after following a mysterious glowing orb. They also saw strange lights covering the entire pasture at night, weird and musky smells, and unusual nightmares when they slept. After 2 years of living in an almost constant state of fear, they had had enough, sold the land, and moved out. Unusual flying objects and UFO sightings have been recorded near the area of the ranch since the 50s, even before the family ever moved in. After it went up for sale, the National Institute for Discovery Science, also known as NIDS, bought the ranch. Owned by billionaire Bob Bigelow, they were intent on studying and gathering evidence and data about the paranormal phenomena happening there. The ranch was transformed into a science facility complete with cameras, new fencing, with round-the-clock researchers and scientists to keep watch. On their first night working there, they reported encountering 2 orbs within 15 to 20 feet from the ground. When they went closer to study them, a human-like animal scrambled for the trees. They spotted footprints which were similar to a human's foot, except they were much larger and had long claws. They didn't want to attract curious gawkers, so they kept the story silent for many years. NIDS would continue studying the strange happenings on the ranch, which included cattle mutilations where no blood would be found in the area, even though huge parts of the animals were missing. They continuously saw the strange balls of light, paranormal activity, humanoid creatures, and even land alterations where huge amounts of soil were moved overnight. By 2002, most of the researchers and scientists were pulled out, citing a decline in the phenomenon. However, by 2006, strange activities started to increase again. Today, Skinwalker Ranch is still owned by NIDS. It's private property, guarded, and considered to be dangerous and unpredictable. Number 4. Black-Eyed Kids. In 1996, journalist Brian Bethel was sitting in his car in Abilene, Texas, and writing a check to his internet provider, making sure he was on time with his bills. He was so engrossed in what he was doing, he hardly noticed the 2 kids standing by his car window, and it wasn't until they knocked that he realized they were there. Without thinking, he rolled his window down, but an unmistakable feeling of dread washed over him. The boys removed their hoods. One of them, who Bethel described as having dark curly hair with an olive-colored skin, spoke and asked him for a ride home. He told them they had wanted to see Mortal Kombat, but left their money at home and needed to get it quickly in order to get back before the movie trailers ended. Bethel looked at his watch and told the boys the movie already started and that it was too late. But the boy insisted and said they're just 2 kids, reassuring him they didn't have a gun or anything on them. Bethel instinctively reached for the lock, but stopped short of it, and it's then that he looked at the boys and saw for the first time they had eyes as black as coal. There was no iris, no white, just pure black. Filled with fear, Bethel mumbled some nonsense reason about not being able to give the boys a ride, revved his car, and backed out from the parking lot. When he turned to look back, the boys were gone. This would be the first account of the black-eyed children, but it wouldn't be the last. Stories about the kids asking for a ride or asking to enter a home or car were popping up frequently. There was a couple who unwittingly allowed two seemingly out-of-place children into their home in the middle of a snowstorm. Shortly after that, the husband started suffering nosebleeds and the power went out. The children eventually left, but her husband was diagnosed with rapid skin cancer, and medical issues also plagued the woman after the encounter. It seems these children always ask permission first. They can't enter unless permission is given, and although those who have let in the black-eyed kids were never directly hurt, they often tell tales about the kids telling them they have come to collect them. One thing's for sure, if you do come across a black-eyed kid, at all costs, do not give her permission to enter your car or home. Number 3. Project Bluebeam. Believers claim the project involves NASA attempt at installing a New Age religion, one that centers around none other than the Antichrist. The conspiracy first came to light when journalist Serge Monas put forth the idea and later published a book titled Project Bluebeam. According to him, creating a New Age religion is the only way to create a global dictatorship. In the book, he published the steps that NASA would take to carry out the project. First, they would aim to discredit the authenticity of all the current religions, because this would make it easier for people to accept a new one. To accomplish this, they would create artificial earthquakes in certain parts of the world that would uncover new evidence pointing to the wrong meanings of the original religions. Secondly, amazing and seemingly authentic 3D holographic images will be presented to people all over the world. This will be targeted at people's faith and making them believe that what they're seeing is a true manifestation of their God. This supposed new God will issue a call for the Golden Age, when in fact it will herald Project Bluebeam perfectly, pushing people to believe in the new religion. Third, this is where mind control and suggestion comes in. NASA will use a new technology in the form of low radio frequencies to telepathically communicate with people. The goal is to reinforce and shape their beliefs so it matches with the new teachings. These frequencies will be broadcasted directly to the brain, so the individual will believe it's a unique insight or call to the new order. The fourth and final phase is designed to force people to accept the new order. Project Bluebeam will launch various chaotic events like an alien invasion, a huge global threat, or something else that will force people to accept it. Christians, for instance, will believe there's a rapture coming as a result of a satanic attack. Their choice will then be to believe or be killed. The methods used will be that of high-tech electronic means, something we haven't seen yet. Various evidence supporting and discrediting the theory have shown up through the years, but leading proponents of Project Bluebeam say that it's already underway. For instance, hundreds of sightings all over the world of mysterious figures, including a humanoid figure, and even the crucifixion appearing in the sky could be the start. There was also the instance of a floating city appearing in China more recently. It was dismissed as a mirage, but conspiracy theorists believe it was a test. Stages 3 and 4 are much harder to pinpoint, but the U.S. government is leading the way when it comes to using advanced technology and telepathic communication studies. Even if you aren't inclined to believe this could happen, the mysterious deaths from a suspicious heart attack of Project Bluebeam's strongest proponents, which includes Serge himself, should be enough for you to look into the matter. In December of 1996, at the age of 51, after spending the night in jail, Serge returned home where he died, supposedly of a heart attack. Number 2. The Reptilians. They're sometimes called Draconians, Reptoids, or Surians. but the conspiracy of the reptilians living among us has been around for a very long time. First introduced by David Icke, he claims that reptilians live among us here on Earth. These creatures take control of the Earth by possessing or replacing world leaders and key figures with ample political power, and use them to manipulate human societies to do their bidding. He adds that the reptilians drink blood and hail from the Alpha Draconis star system. They can shapeshift to look like most people and have built underground bases where they live. He also says that the majority of our world leaders are in fact reptilians. This includes former President George W. Bush and Queen Elizabeth II, as well as the rest of the royal family. There are also famous actors and performers as well. Icke, who was a former BBC sports reporter, says the reptilians are responsible for some of the major catastrophes that happen in the world, including the 9/11 attacks and the Holocaust. As for their purpose, proponents of the theory suggest that the reptilians' main scheme is to divide and conquer humans. The theory of the reptilians living among us and even governing and running countries might seem laughable to some people, but those who believe in their existence are growing rapidly. Number 1. Rand Corporation. Known as the shadowy think tank of America, the Rand Corporation and its many dealings is one of the most talked about conspiracy theories in the world today. First formed in 1946, Rand was started by five-star General Henry Arnold, who thought America needed a team to keep its technology and weapons well ahead of the rest of the world. Standing for research and development, Rand soon attracted the military with its revolutionary proposals. Among their first was the preliminary design of an experimental world-circling spaceship, where essentially they wanted to put a spaceship or satellite into orbit. From there, it could predict the weather, provide long-distance communications, and most of all, intimidate the rest of the world. You might think putting a satellite into orbit is nothing special, but this proposal was released in the 40s, when rocket science was still in its infancy. By the 60s, Rand became a prominent think tank. The company earned various nicknames including the Wizards of Armageddon from its American clients, and the Academy of Science and Death and Destruction by the Soviet Union because of their focus in generating war and weapons. Today the company still exists, and they're partially funded by the government. However, they are still an independent company that caters to various organizations all around the globe. The conspiracy theory behind Rand is that they are more than just a think tank, but actually pulling the strings behind the scenes all around the world. Their goal is to create a new world order that seeks to control society with efficiency, having humans being viewed as nothing more than just machines. Aside from establishing the strategy behind using nuclear weapons, of which they believe that as long as 10 million Americans survive the nuclear war, then it would be a success, they also see the United Nations as a template for an eventual organization that would be built and run by the United States. Eventually, the US would become the de facto world government. From there, they would be able to control anything and everything in the entire world. So those were the top 5 scariest and most creepy conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories can be entertaining, but sometimes they can also be downright terrifying. Whether these theories are simply figments of people's hyperactive imaginations or are in fact real still remains to be seen. If you enjoyed this video, then please remember to subscribe to our channel, and each week we'll bring you a new scary mystery to enjoy. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.